All right. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite warlock, practicing necromancer. And this is basically part two of the video I did about a day ago called Bettering Yourself. I didn't get a chance to completely go into what I wanted to do because my son had shown up with his grandparents. So I figured I'd do a part two and further the discussion of what I was trying to get across to all of you. And instead of a pup, I got one of the four kitties. So kind of fun. And every single one of them like to come to me for some reason. I don't get it. But anyways, so why don't we delve into this? So last time I kind of spoke about and touched about understanding what an asset is compared to a liability. Understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt, that of an income sheet and a balance sheet, stuff like that. But more so, I also discussed a little bit and touched upon bettering yourself within spirituality, within your physical form. Say, for an example, everything you do within the mundane world. Say, mind, body, spirit type stuff. And also work related stuff. Um, and then near the end, we ended up talking about the Knights of Templar and the Forsaken soldiers there. They were known as the Forsaken Ones. And that's basically where I left that one at that point. Now, I did remember the name of those knights, and I did put them underneath the comment section, like I said I would do. So I did do that. Again, living up to my word. So let's go in further and kind of break this stuff down. In the old days, the blood oath was considered to be between the brothers, the brotherhood or the sisterhood. It was an oath that you did and gave to your coven. Okay, be it coven of witches, warlocks, or maybe even both. Look at the Hexa. They were mostly women in the Swedish witchcraft um, area of Europe, and there were about 25% men, aka the warlock, and even in the Stragoi or Strega, which was the Romanian and Italian witchcraft. They're both men and women practitioners. Some are more powerful because they come from a hereditary family lineage. Others are taught, you know, by an elder like a priest or priestess, and I did kind of touch on that as well in the last video, especially the Shem priesthood of the first, second, and third dynasty of Egypt, up until the Hashishin of Pakistan. The Knights of Templar, and so forth, coming forward throughout history to where modern day priesthood and ministers and clergy are today, mostly about Christianity and the JCI, who people think are the only priesthood out there. Too bad they don't know history, henceforth, why schools don't teach history anymore. They pick and choose what they want in their schools instead of what actually they should be doing. It's more, oh, that school's teaching this, we might as well do it too. You see it all the time with the competition. The only person you're in competition with is yourself. So, what does it mean to better yourself? When you look at bettering yourself, it could be the bond that you have between yourself and a spirit that you have a connection with. My son is the child of Asmodeus, whereas I am the child of Abaddon. So basically, it is a spirit that has chosen you, not the other way around. And you see it all the time throughout Haitian Voodoo, where a Loa or say for an example, even in the Caribbean traditions, you have the Orisha who have chosen the practitioner. Okay. Sometimes, like I said, you have the three different definitions: the hereditary, you have, which is the family lineage, and then you have the book learned, and then you have the taught. Okay. But let's say, for an example, you live in a remote area. Okay. And from a spiritualistic perspective, let's say, for an example, you want to understand rituals. You want to understand how to perform them. How do you get to resonate with the energy or the current of the system that you're working with, not just the essence of a spirit. Each spirit brings its own essence, its own energy, its own intensity, if you will. For an example, working with the abyss or the abyssal entities is very intense. It is something that a lot of people are not familiar with. And there's a reason why a lot of people won't guide you to the abyss, because they don't want to see you destroy yourself before you have a firm foundation of underneath you and have actual physical knowledge and understanding about what you're getting into before being led down that path. If you're working with the Orisha, obviously you got to know the difference between a somebody who's going to use demonic entities for cursing, hexes, and jinxes versus those of the Orisha that are there to help and guide you. Okay, most an Orisha would do would to hex you, which is basically teaching you a lesson. I mean, let's face it. How do you grow and mature if you don't go through trials and tests? The hardships of life, if you will. Okay. So even in spirituality, there is methods that you can employ to better yourself, such as going out and seeking out that knowledge by any means necessary. If that means going underneath a an app like, say, Scribd, for an example, and you download, let's say, any number of grimoires, like from, like, say, Eliphas Levi or Arthur Edward White, the Red Book of Appin, the Grand Grimoire, perhaps even the Clavicle of Solomon, or the Constitution of Pope Honorius, Francis Barrett's The Magus, Volume 1 and 2, even the Sacred Magic of Abram Malin the Mage. There's so many different works out there, not just in grimoire traditions, that you can download just from Scribd alone. And let me see. Let me get my phone real fast here. I want to. They changed the whole app, and I want to make sure I got this right. It's called Everend. Is now what Scribd used to be. Not really sure what went on there or why they switched names, but I keep calling it Scribd when I should be saying Everend. Okay. And as you just witnessed, a couple of cats are fighting back there. There's a pecking order everywhere. Ego and pride. But in the end, there's still a litter. So let's say, for an example, you want to strengthen your body. Okay. Strengthening your body also goes along with your spirit. It also goes on with spirituality. Okay. Working your body is equally important as working with your mind. If you're working with psionics or radionics, for an example, through meditation and spiritual conjuration, how do you expect your body to keep up if you don't work it? Okay. This is why a lot of practitioners hit the gym often. They even have their own home gym. You're strengthening your muscles in your body. You're utilizing your talents and your understanding of vegetables and herbs and things that will keep you alive even if you're fasting. Okay. And I've done videos where I've discussed the types of fasting that you can do, from the milk fast to the Daniel fast to the Keta fast to the black fast, which is the most extreme and oldest version of fasting out there from a religious perspective. I'm pretty sure the milk fast is actually the oldest because milk's been around a lot longer than religion. So, and my nose is bugging me, which means I gotta trim my goatee here at some point. And anyways, so yeah, you got to work the body as much as you work the mind. So the body and the mind go together, not just the spirit. So you'd want to go to your local library. You want to, go to groups like Amazon or eBay. Maybe Abe Books. You know, maybe Borders or BAM. Books of a Million. Is is Borders even around anymore? I know they left my area about 6 7 years ago. We've had Books of a Million since then. I don't know if they bought them out or what, but it's there. You know, so there's a lot of different methods and ways that you can gain the insight and knowledge that you are seeking. So right there, you have your mind, your body, and your spirit. Okay. But let's say, for an example, you want to get into finances. Okay. What are what is some of the biggest assets out there? I mean, a lot of times people hear the terms investments. You're looking at stocks and bonds and trading, but a lot of people, they don't have the understanding of what that entails. Now, as I said in the last video, I've only been doing this for about a year and a half. I'm pretty much a toddler in this at this point, you know. So I'm not a expert like Robert Kiyosaki is, or say Donald Trump, Elon Musk, you know, even what's his face there, fucktard that owns Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. There we go. So there's a lot of different people that have a lot more experience than I do. Hell, even my own apprentice, who's been kind of guiding me off and on over the last year and a half, and he's the one that got me and introduced me to Robinhood. Okay, Robinhood is a great place to start out for a beginner. It teaches you, it guides you, and it helps you understand the difference between stocks, ETFs, and investments and stuff like that. But it also kind of gives you that guidance and that education to where you can find out each step. Like, for an example, earlier today, I got a notification that I have a dividend. Now, what is a dividend? A dividend is a percentage of a share that a company has. Okay. And if you have stocks or ETFs in that company, like even if it's a fraction of a share, you are eligible for a percentage of that dividend. Okay. So in this case, let's say for an example, you own 0.040376, okay, of a share. Okay. That's basically 0.001, okay, which is basically a penny, if you will. Okay. Big deal, right? It's a penny. All right. Well, guess what? When you've earned enough dividends, okay, you have the option of reinvesting those dividends. Okay. Those dividends, even if it's a penny, can multiply into two pennies. The two pennies, if reinvested after that, become four pennies, 8 pennies, 16 pennies, and so forth. They keep doubling. And if you do that for 90 days, how many pennies do you actually have? Okay. So now consider if you purchase full shares, depending on the company that you're investing in. Let's say, for an example, you get into Elon Musk's. This is one of the more modern shares that I just purchased about a day or two ago. A share of his company, Tesla, for an example, goes for like 167 something a share. Okay. But if you drop, say, for an example, $10 to invest into his company. Now, keep in mind, this is one of those companies that he actually sold off some shares to purchase Twitter. Okay. Keep that in mind. But he still owns a huge amount of shares in that company. So even if you purchase $10 and then turn around the next day and you purchase 10 more dollars, okay, now you own double a percentage of a share. Okay. Now, from what I understand from an elder, the point is to save up. Okay. Take your time and invest in one share, not a whole bunch. It would be like working with spirits. You want to forge that relationship and that connectiveness to that spirit rather than to limit and spread yourself thin by working with a multitude of spirits. Now, even in my practices, I work with mostly a handful of spirits, and I'm talking two main spirits and a couple subordinates, if you will, lieutenants, subordinates, lackeys, whatever you want to call them. But you go by their rank and their title because it's a matter of respect. So, even if in this case we're talking finances, like I said, you want to understand that income. Now, let's say for an example, and I'm gonna do this on mine. Okay, I'm gonna go to let's go to Credit Karma. Okay. Now, keep in mind that it's not just my debt that I'm dealing with. I'm also dealing with my son's mother's debt. Okay, because my name is on her accounts, just like hers is on mine. Okay, and it's beneficial for both of us in that area. Like today, my Equifax went up 3 points. Okay. Now let's see what changed. Okay. Credit inquiry removed. Okay. Let's view the change. What was it? 27. Okay. A hard inquiry was removed. Okay. Let's see. Excellent high impact. 100% payment history. Okay. Credit card use. 73%. Okay. Now let's look at this. Okay, Capital One gaming card. That would be the GameStop card. My son's into video games. I mean, hell, I play them from time to time, just just when I'm bored and wanting to do something. So that's zero. My Amazon card, where I get a lot of my books from when I find them, is 90%, but that's $90 out of $100. But keep in mind, you got two different Amazon cards here. So in this case, mine, I only owe $17 left on mine. Okay. Whereas on my son's mother, you're looking at about $31 minimum pay um, out of 100. So you're looking at she's got to drop about $90. Okay. But let's say, for an example, Hard Inquiry is green. So we know that just fell off. So that's a good thing. So now I've got two things that are no, three things that are green. Okay. Out of one, two, three, four, five, six things. So that's half in the green. Okay. Because I've been paying all that down. She's been paying it down. Okay. So let's say, for an example, let's go with full credit report. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the difference between good debt and bad debt. Okay. Now, good debt would be, say, for an example, your car payment. This is something that you need on a day-to-day basis to get from point A to point B, say home to work to grocery stores to getting your kids from school or from their grandparents' home or wherever. So you're looking at, in my case, $9,368, and that was out of 9.5. That was 19.5. Okay, 19,500. Now, keep in mind, my vehicle as a 2016 Kia Sorento was worth 23 grand when I first purchased it. Okay, it's in good standing. You know, my son's mother is over, almost down into 10,000. She's got about $82 before she gets down into 10,000, 10,000 something. But you got to keep in mind that it's up to the bank to discern what you pay per month. I'm paying about 451, area. So whereas she's paying like 300. So obviously, even though we pay the same amount, you got two different banks, two different systems. Okay. Now let's say, for an example, like I said, you got four closed. So that's one, two, three, four closed. Okay. So that's six loans and four of them are closed. So that's good debt right there. Okay. So let's go to dashboard. Okay. TransUnion 658, 668, Equifax. Okay. But you got to remember that when you're paying stuff off, your credit score is going up. And depending if it's the TransUnion, which is checked like every 6 months or so, I think, you're not going to, how should I say this, see a big impact in your credit score. Now, when you're following things like that on apps like Credit Karma, or what's that other one there? Oh hell, I can't remember all the freaking apps there. So let's go with Credit, Credit One, Credit Karma, and so forth. Okay, so keep in mind that those type of apps that you see is not the actual credit. So you could be in the high 600s and you're actually in the 500s. Okay. See, when I was talking to my bank, the bank manager that where I have my account, she actually informed me of this and said, "Hey, these apps are not really reliable because they don't give you the accuracy of your true, you know, credit score." And it's like, "Oh, okay." So now you're learning something new. Now you need credit to get anything in these days. So one of the things that I learned from Robert um, Kiyosaki was the fact that if you are a homeowner, you'd think you'd get the bull by the horns. But in fact, you're putting out 10 times more than what you would be with renting an apartment. Okay. So, and this is because even though you've paid off your home, you own your home, your bad debt or your bad credit would be to the fact that you're putting out maintenance, mortgages, you're putting out taxes of various different um, sorts, from town taxes to property tax and such. You're putting out, say, for an example, repairs and maintenance, okay, the electric bill for that property. And don't even get me started if you got a gravel dooryard. How much gravel do you have to bring in per year just to maintain your dooryard? Okay. Do you have to have the septic system changed out and so forth? So you're literally at a disadvantage there because you're putting out more than what you're bringing in. So in this case, financially speaking, renting an apartment is going to be better for you. But it doesn't mean that you can't own property. Okay. It just means you have to be more strategic. You have to think about it. One of the stories he put forth, and this is something that really resonated with me as somebody who's actually lived in multiple different states throughout the US, is when you buy a home, you move in with your girlfriend, your wife, your fiance, or your wife, you know, and you're working towards the same goals, and then you have a family. Okay, you've saved up enough to get a bigger place, so you go out and you get a bigger place, and now you're thinking, oh, this is going to fit our family nice. We're going to be able to afford this. We got great jobs, and then you're like, we got so much open space. Let's go out and buy some shit. So now you go out and you buy stuff, say more TVs, more furniture, more appliances, you know, and next thing you know, you got what is called bad debt. Okay, because now it's kind of snuck up on you, and now you're further in debt than you were before. So you start paying off all this debt, and it's going to take years for you to do because now they're going to be adding on interest, an interest rate, and so forth. It's just like going to college. I mean, it used to be, you go to college to learn, it wasn't about money. Now you're paying over $55,000 that's going to take you half your life just to pay back before you can even start, putting a family together and, buying a house and property and all that stuff for yourself. So let's move forward. Even if you separate, say you have that family and you separate, you're not married, you're not, my ex and I, we separated, and a little over a year and a half ago, she is struggling, and I mean struggling financially, and it's really not her fault because she's so used to living a glorified lifestyle. Think Paris Hilton, if you will. Not that level of entitlement, but still. Um, It's more the fact that she's putting out more than what she can handle. Okay, like say she looks on Amazon or Chewy, which is for pets and stuff, and it's like, oh, well, this looks cool. Let's get it. Well, can you really afford that when you have bills coming up? Okay, you know that rent's coming up. Well, I'm going to be like 100 or 2 short for my rent. I'm going to have to take some money out of our son's account, or can you help pay? I'm not going to be able to pay the car insurance this month because I've had to deal with this, and this. Well, why is it that I have money and she doesn't? It's not that I'm doing anything different. It's just I don't go out buying everything that looks pretty or catches my eye. You know, it must be a woman thing, I guess. I don't know. But the point is that I go out, get what I need, and I leave it alone. If I want a coffee, I'll go out for like 1 or 2 coffees, and that's it. You know, if I want, say, alcohol, let's say for an example, a Fireball, I'll get one of those big ones because that will last me a good 2, 3 weeks. You know, if I want vodka, I'll go out and get one of those big things of vodka, and I'll utilize maybe a quarter glass with orange juice, make it into a virgin screwdriver. Kind of just help me relax after a long day of work. But then, you know, and you're looking right there about 20, 25 bucks just for one of those big containers. So depending on what you're doing, I mean, you don't need to go out and purchase the entire store. You just need to make a small list and go, this is a priority. This is not. Okay. Instead of, if you don't have to go out in town, why waste the gas? You know what I'm saying? So you really want to look at what you can afford and what you can't afford. And to do that, you must learn what an asset, the difference between an asset and a liability is. Okay. Is my car a liability? Yes, because I'm putting out a lot of money. Not only am I putting out $451 towards it every month, but now you're also talking oil changes, you're talking tires, your basic wear and tear, such as brakes and rotors. You're maybe a windshield or two, depending if it cracks, get hit by a rock, or say for an example, you hit a deer. Guilty on that one. My point. So yeah, the car would be classified as a liability in that case because I don't fully own it. I'm paying it, back the bank for buying it for me from the dealership. Instead of paying the full price, I'm breaking it down into monthly installments, which actually works. But think of it this way: if you have extra finances, why not put it towards that car? Okay. Where my son's mother is roughly about maybe about a month ahead, I'm 4 months ahead. So if I run short, I can just sit there and call the bank and say, hey, can I skip this month's payment? And they're like, yeah, you're like 4 months ahead here. You're all good. We'll just reset you up next month. So that's good debt right there because you're ahead of the curve. You're already ahead of the payments, and they're showing that you are working with them and you're actually putting the effort to pay them back. This is why the banks are willing to work with you. Okay. Now a lot of people, they'll complain about credit scores. They'll complain about not having money, but they don't stop to think, do I actually need this? Is this going to set me back? You see, she's constantly showing me what she has saved in her Amazon card or in her Chewy account for the animals, say her 3 cats and the dog. You know, she's constantly showing me what she has saved in her Walmart app and stuff like that. But she's also constantly traveling, spending out probably about 100 or 2 worth of gas per week because now she's delivering for her boyfriend after she goes to work. She's constantly going in town and going shopping. She's constantly on the move, either to her parents' house, to her grandparent and mother's church, to wherever to go help friends. But or she's loaning her car out to idiots like her past boyfriend. But I don't let my car out of my sight. I don't let other people borrow my car. The reason that my car is in good shape and I don't is because I don't go very far. I only utilize my car for when I actually need it. I'm not a big people person. I don't like being out in crowds. Okay. So being at work, that's something that really bothers me. Okay. Because I work in fast food, I'm a shift leader. Okay. Which means I'm between management and the rest of the crew. I'm the opener, basically, and not just the baker. So I have to deal with all that stuff. I have to deal with the tills. I have to deal with people. I have to deal with you know the teaching aspects and all that. But I have to also deal with, okay, what's coming down? What do I have to prepare for in the morning? All this stuff. And you got crowds coming in to where they're wrapped around the building for drive through. You got huge crowds coming in, and it's like, yeah, I feel kind of claustrophobic here. So it's one of those things where if I don't have to be out in public, I would rather just stay home with a good book. I've got groceries in the fridge. Why should I go out and purchase stuff that I don't need? Number one. Number two, why should I go to a restaurant when I got food in the fridge, food in the pantry? My son's mother's, she'll come in every so often and raid my pantry. It's all good, because I've got an abundance. She needs it. She can use it. Let her have it, you know. But that's just being a man. That's being a father. You know what I'm saying? You look after your family. So it's not just your job to understand finances, but it's also you have to look at your goals. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Okay. Are you trying to just live comfortably, or are you trying to work towards getting a lot of money? You know, one of the biggest things you see on some of these Illuminati pages is, for an example, if you're on Facebook, is you get these people showing all these bills and stuff, and all they show is the one. They could be dollars for all you know. And people are like, oh my God, you're a millionaire. How do I get that? And it's that thing of envy, it's that thing where people are like, hey, I want to be that. I want to be rich and famous. But did you ever stop to wonder, is that for me? What am I going to sacrifice if I do that? I've sat there with a former apprentice of mine. Okay. I haven't talked to this guy in years. And because last time I heard, he was living with his mother, with his girl. He and his girlfriend had moved in with their mother about 2 towns over. And last time I saw him, he was actually in a psychiatric hospital. Yeah, he fucked with things, spirits that he should not have fucked with. And I've told him you need a firm foundation under you, otherwise they're going to fuck up your world. And guess what? Mm. Hey, it's on him. He didn't listen. But hey, it happens. So the point here is, he came to me and he says, well, this person came to me and he says, they claim to be of the Illuminati and want me to join. And I said, really? Why would they want you? He goes, gee, ouch. What the fuck does that mean? And I said, think about it. If the Illuminati was still around today, the original Illuminati were a part of the Catholic Church. They were based off scientific experimentation, not just spirituality. Okay. So even if they were a secret organization, as most people claim they are, why do you have so many groups out there between Eastern and Western traditions claiming to be the true Illuminati? Why are they announcing themselves to the world? And who the fuck are you? And why would they want you in their organization? You know what I'm saying? You live off SSI. You don't have a job. You live with your parents and you're in your 30s. You've had how many relationships that's failed? You go in and out of the hospital because of your schizophrenic behavior. What is it about you that they want? What can you provide them? Did you ever stop to wonder about that? And he goes, it's kind of good points. I go, damn straight it is. A lot of people that claim to be a part of the Illuminati or want to be a part of the Illuminati have no fucking understanding. I mean, they'll go to a Satanist and go, "Hey, make a, I want to sell my soul to Satan to become part of the Illuminati." Well, why? Number one, why would you come to a Satanist then? And number two, what makes you think they want your soul, especially Satan? So I made him a deal. I made him a deal, a bargain. I said, I will join with you. I will put the money forth for both of us. But I'm going to tell you how this is going to go down. And I laid it out for him. Okay? Just like I laid it out for all these modern day dating sites that are around today, where all these scam artists, users, and prostitutes and everything are on. And so many people just keep it up. They just get on there and they keep pissing away their money without actually learning. And you ask them, well, how many women have you dated since you've been on these dating sites? None. Wow. How much money did you put forward? My entire paycheck. So what you're saying is you're broke. You're basically broke for the next week. Hmm. Because again, it comes down to bad debt. It comes down to a liability. You think they'll tell you that no, this is free to sign up, just like these Illuminati wannabes. We'll put the money forth. Just, oh, it's all free. Just sign this. Oh, by the way, you got to pay 100 and something to get into the Illuminati, to be able to purchase all our property, our gifts, to get our tools and prayers and all this stuff. Hmm, okay. Oh, by the way, you got to purchase to chat. Hmm, okay. That's just these Illuminati sites. Okay. But let's talk about these dating sites. You're lucky if you get to talk for 6 rounds. 6 rounds, just 6 sentences before all of a sudden it freezes up and you got to put $7, $7.99 towards another 14 messages. And when those messages are up, another $14. And then it'll up it to $40 and then $60. And before long, within a couple of hours, your entire paycheck is gone. Now, where's the date that you were promised by the ad before you downloaded the app, before you even got onto the system? You never got the date. You never even met one of these women. But all these women will either want want to sit there and take their sweet ass time while you're going broke, or they'll ask you for a WhatsApp number the WhatsApp app number or Telegram number. Do you have this app? Do you have that app? Let's go there. And then they'll hit you up for more money. And that's all it is. Exactly. Mellow Sloth 29. Bots. So somebody like me can tell you exactly what's going to happen before it happens. Because unlike most people, when you learn to identify an asset compared to a liability, you can avoid going broke. Well, like I said, dealing with finances and dealing with investments, I'm an amateur. Okay? I'll be the first one to tell you I'm an amateur. I've only been doing this for about a year and a half now. But here's the thing, I now have shares within Amazon, Tesla, Carnival. Now, Carnival is LLC or CCL rather, and nowadays, and it's basically everything from creation of these cruise ships to the actual cruises and everything like that, down to the repairs and stuff like that. You get a percentage of when they get a profit. Now, Amazon is basically just a share within the company itself. It doesn't mean you run it. It doesn't mean you have anything to do with it. Although if you do buy enough shares, you can equally become a partner on Amazon, as in the app itself. You can apply to become a partner. Um, but this is all consumer goods. Okay. So then you get into things like crypto, Bitcoin. Okay. I don't know anything about Bitcoin. I've heard a number of different stories about it, which is why I haven't applied to Bitcoin. Now, namely because from what I understand, a lot of these so-called Bitcoin advantages are actually cons. Okay, so I went out and I got a share in Coinbase, crypto, if you will, and I found a company that was actually pretty good. They were getting a lot of money, a lot of revenue, and it appears to be going up and up and up. So I waited until it was in the red, and I purchased a single $10 share, which is a fraction of a share. And then I did the same thing with Tesla. And then I turned around the following day and bought another $10 towards Tesla. So right now, and I'm going to bring up my Robinhood thing so I can actually tell you and show this to you. And I'm going to bring this up here so that let me see. I'll talk to him in just a few minutes. Log in. All right, because today's Good, Friday or whatever the hell they call it for a holiday, everything's closed, so everything's down into the red. Now, today I signed up for the gold standard. So right now I've only invested $75.95 into this. Okay, but I have total individual value is 75.95, individual holdings 55.95, individual cash $20, and I hold 61% stocks and 39% ETFs, and that's within a year and a half. Okay, roughly, or a year and a quarter, somewhere between a year and a quarter and a year and a half. Okay. Um, but I hold 0% in both options and crypto. Now, if I continue scrolling down, I have 34% invested into consumer goods, 32% in finance, 20% in tech, media, and telecom, 14% into hospitality. Okay, and that's what I've purchased. Okay, but I'm also a gold member as well, and I can get gold perks as well to get everything in there faster if I wanted to go into the perks, which at this time I don't. I'm just satisfied with being in the gold at the moment. So basically, from what I understand, you have to be patient. Okay, this is not a quick get rich quick type thing. It's more the fact that you can apply yourself for retirement, to live comfortably, or to even get rich eventually. But you want to build up your finances. You want to build up your portfolio, if you will. And in my portfolio, let me just bring that up real fast so you can so I can actually read it off to you. Is my portfolio right now, as it stands? Let me get up in here. Investing. Okay, it's called balances, recurring investments, DRIP, if you will, also known as stock lending. Okay, so if I click on that, it shows 75.95 in my portfolio. Stocks and options 55.95, and individual cash 20. Instant deposits health good. Okay, so I have the option of depositing funds, viewing recurring investments, edit dividend reinvestment, disable cash sweeps, enable option trading, switch to cash accounts, enable margin investing, dry trade settings. So those are all things that I can do down the road. Now, from what one of my elders has told me, is it would be better to focus on just one of these, and go from a fraction to a full percentage, then go into 10, 50, and then 100. Okay. And the 100 is where you want to be. So that at that point, then you can actually start investing and getting trading and all that stuff in. But it's a matter of, for right now, building up that revenue. And that's the big thing that you want to really get into. But I did have a conversation today with a couple of ladies that run a share and stock type chat group, and it was based off Elon Musk's Bitcoin thing that you see on social media these days, like TikTok or Facebook. It's just one of many companies, I guess, that he goes through that deals with this AI type program that he's been spewing lately. And I tried getting on to a link that they sent me, and for some reason, it wouldn't let you go past trying to log in and getting the code and everything so you can actually get into it. But I had an opportunity of getting into their chat, their main chat, which is only for admins to post. And then I was talking with these two individual ladies as elders of that group. Now, what's interesting here is they were more interested in getting you onto that group than to actually explain it. So I ended up just, after about a couple of hours, it's like, no, I'm just going to stick with what I know, which is Robinhood. And a friend of mine who does alternative fuels, which I have been getting considering getting into, which is alternative fuels and stuff like that. Like, and he actually hooked me up with an app that was called Prosper Invest. Now, I haven't had a chance to look at that one, but from what he told me, it's more like note taking and stuff like that, where you can actually put up balances and stuff, and kind of monitor your input and output aspects so that you can actually gain a lot more in the long run. So I'm going to see if I can log that into my Robinhood account and see if I can prosper even further that way. But I am going to be heeding my elders' perspective and only focus on one stock in one investment at a time. So at this time, I'm thinking of focusing solely on Tesla, because that seems to be the fastest growing one that I have right now, or one of the two, I should say, because the one that is about business and corporations and telecom and all that stuff seems to be the hot seat, if you will, at this time. So, and that's just from my own observations in that area. Out of all the ones that I've invested in so far, that one there seems to be the fastest growing. So I'm going to focus on that for a while and see what transpires, maybe 90 days or so, and then switch over to one of my other ones and try to boost that one up as well. So I think that's something that's very good in having that understanding. Now, for sources, I would recommend. I was recommended to Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki, and I ended up finding his PDF audio book on Scribd when it was Scribd at the time, and I listened to that a couple of times, and I thought it was pretty interesting, and I got a lot of insight into it. But then I found the actual book, and I purchased it, and now I own quite a bit of his books. I think I own, was it one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight? Uh, yeah, about eight, nine books, and there's still several books that I don't own. And I think there's like four or five more books that I got to get before I own all of them. Hey, Jeffrey, Leo, and Stephen, welcome. So there's a lot that you can do for knowledge, and I think I like, out of all the ones that I've read so far on financial investments, Roberts is perhaps one of the greatest because he has a system that is called KISS. Okay, and this is something that he actually put. I don't know if it was something that he put together or either his own father or the what he refers to as rich dad, poor dad type thing did for him. But either way, KISS is translated into keep it stupidly simple. And it is one of the greatest systems I've come across. And I have to say, if you get a chance to buy his books, I would recommend purchasing them. They're worth your time. He doesn't just give you examples, but he shows you real life applications of how it can affect you, how it can benefit you. And mostly, he also gives you diagrams and breaks it down to help you understand not only how to invest, but also the differences between assets, pretty much everything I just spoke to you about. Okay. So, purchasing shares is something that's going to take time. Now, I've made a commitment not to touch mine for at least 5 to 10 years. Why? Because at this time, it's more about upping the game than it is to actually share them, trade them, or whatever. I want to nurture them and have a nice, good sized nest egg, so to speak, by the time my son is in college. Okay. Keep in mind, my son is currently a first grader. He's 6 years old. Okay. And he'll be seven in September of this year. So, what I want to do is I want to help him go to college. And most importantly, even though I have a life insurance of 200,000, you know, I want to add to that because that's not, by the time it's said and done, that's not going to be fully for him, because you're looking at so many expenses long before it even reaches his hand. He'll be lucky to have 50 grand, by the time it's done. So what I want to do is, and this is what I'm doing, it doesn't mean that it's something that you have to do, is I'm actually growing for retirement. I got another 20, maybe 25, maybe 30 years ahead of me before I retire because I'm only 45. And I think the retirement age now is like 71, 72, I think, right now, 70, 75 region right now. So, like I said, about 20, 30 years. So it's not just about retirement at this age, at this time. It's more about living comfortably, and it's about getting a nice, good nest egg for my son. Because I want him not to have to fight and scrounge and scratch like I did growing up. You know, I've had to fight for everything my entire life, and I don't want him to go through that. I want him to have a better life than what I had. So, in that case, this is something that will benefit in the long run if you don't touch it. Just add to it, nurture it, and guide it to fruition. And that's basically all you got to do. And like I said, Robert's books are prime for that. Okay. So look into that. But I wanted to kind of break it down and kind of give you some examples of the difference between an asset and what appears to be an asset and what is actually a liability. Like I said, when you get on dating sites, it may look like it's going to be an asset for you, but in reality, it's a liability because it's going to take all your money and you're still not going to be meeting up with women or whatever, men, women, whatever your gender is and what you're seeking. So long before you even get a date, you'll be broke. So and then you're not going to be able to do anything anyways. So that's a liability. Getting into involved with these Illuminati types and getting into their websites and everything, that's a liability. Going in half cocked and mostly blind, is a liability. One of the greatest things that was put forth in Rich Dad Poor Dad was the if you're going to be building a skyscraper, you don't want to build a skyscraper on the foundation for a house. You want to build it for a skyscraper, meaning you want to build the right foundation for that empire. Okay. And that's something that takes time. It takes dedication, commitment, and observation. It takes focus and discipline and complete fealty to. And when you do it, you got to be dedicated. Like I said, I started my Robinhood account around, I want to say, November of 2022. It's now March 2024. So roughly about a year and a half. Okay. Give or take a month. So even though I've slowly built it up to this point, I've let it grow and I've watched dividends being put forth. Because you have stock in this account, you get a percentage of this dividend. Well, guess what? That's built up to the point where it's like, hey, guess what? You can now invest those dividends, back into those companies and get more from your bang for your buck. Hell yes. That's one of the things I like about Robinhood. Okay. And like I said, my apprentice introduced me to Robinhood because when I first got into investments, I downloaded just about like 4 or 5 different apps. And it's like, oh, fuck, how do I do this? How do I get into this shit? You know? And it's because on one hand, I'm an occultist. I want to have a business for myself in this area. And you know, I'm not one of these big fancy, occultists like, say, for example, E.A. Quetting is, or Joseph Nunn, Behemoth X, where he's putting these amazing videos forth, or have all this money and boot camps and friendships and this corporation that he's built up, like E.A. Quetting did. I'm not Frank White from Serpent of the Grails, mine, or D.H. Thorne. I'm not good with technology. My knowledge in technology is very slim to non-existent. I don't have a if I wasn't for my nephew, I wouldn't have a YouTube account or a Facebook account. If it wasn't for my son's mother, to get me to where I'm at, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have today just to get around my laptop and my cell phone. So, you got to look, if you think you're a self-made man, you're really not, because you look at the people that's helped you get to where you're at. Those are the people that you want in your corner. Who's always going to be there for you, not these ones that claim to be there for you and you never talk to them. So those one of the rules that my elders and the organization that I'm affiliated with has in common is you don't hold back anything that would hinder the learning and growth of an apprentice or a student of the arts. Okay. And I really like that aspect because it speaks true. When you are learning, I will teach. When you stop learning, I stop teaching. Okay. And that is something that I truly hold on to. And I think it's beneficial for everybody because we are all learning at different intervals. We're all learning at different speeds, but we all bring something to the table. Okay, experiences, thoughts, and yes, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, so not everybody's perspective is a good thing. You just want to look at those who are earnestly trying to benefit you, and that's the way I look at it. And that's my personal view there. So when I put a video through like this, I want you to have a full understanding and a full grasp within a firm foundation of this is stuff that you can do. Okay. But it is also stuff that this is stuff that you don't want to do. Okay. You, it's like one of the things that came up was, you all know that I have a dog. I share custody of this dog, Opal, with my son's mother. Okay, so she goes back and forth between our house, our apartments. So a lot of people, when they get a dog, they think, "Wow, this is a pretty dog. It's going to make a great addition to our family." And then all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, I don't have time to keep up with this pup." Or this dog is so needy and it's so high maintenance, I don't have time to do this. Then they have to return the dog, and it comes down to, oh, this is pretty, I want it, I must have it. Really? Didn't you have something like that like 40 years ago? You got to do your homework, you got to take your time, you got to be dedicated, disciplined, and focused upon what you're doing and observe how it's changing. Even your ritual practices are going to change over time. The more you learn, the more you grow, the more experience you get, the more you have to adapt. It's no different than bodybuilding. It's no different from eating more healthier, you know, because that's going to tie into your body and how you build muscle, or how you fuel your brain. You know, it's no different than financial prosperity and understanding of investing. So all of this stuff literally plays into account of what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. So with that said, I've taken up enough of your time. Um, I've been on here, wow, almost an hour and 10 minutes. Damn, time flies when you're having fun, especially when you're lost in thought. So, like I said, I've done 3 videos called "Bettering Yourself." Um, I better the self, and then bettering yourself, and now this is part 2 of bettering yourself from the one I did day before yesterday. And like I said, I wanted to go deep down into thought and kind of just bring this stuff to bear. So, what you do with it is on you. All I can tell you is whatever you preach, always back it up with multiple sources, like what I've just done, and always make yourself available to the public because you are responsible for the things that you do and say. Okay. Um, Always give a shout out to those that you represent or that you're promoting for. In this case, I spoke on Rich Dad Poor Dad and about 9 other books associated with Robert T. Kiyosaki. Um, you know, he even did a book with Donald Trump, and I think there's one. more that he did with somebody else. I can't remember offhand, but those keep that in mind. You really want to just put the names out there because of where you find them and who wrote them, because of the fact that it can be considered plagiarism, and you really don't want legal action on that. So you really have to do that, because they are copyright protected. Um, so, but what you do with the knowledge being put out, is up to you. No one else is responsible but you. Okay. Um, but outside of that, have a good night. I want to thank Stephen Delmo for jumping on here with me, Leo Blandford, Mellow Sloth 29, and Godfrey 524 for jumping on here with me. I want to say thank you for being loyal viewers. It means a lot to me. Um, and I'm honored to that you find my what I put forth useful. Um, yeah, I hear that. I hear that, and a lot more. mm, Let's just say, Godfrey, that you and I have a lot in common. Okay. Um, I treated my body like an amusement park, and because of that fact, I have two bad knees, two bad shoulders, metal in my hand from surgery, and a bad ankle. So, and I fractured my ribs, my neck, and like I said, like an amusement park. So, trust me, I get what you're saying when you say head injury. Um, it sucks, especially with the changing of the weather systems. And but it's a matter of understanding your muscles and what was affected and how it was affected and how you can actually heal yourself from them. So head injuries, I'm not really sure how that works. So the brain is one of those tricky things. So you're welcome, Leo. So with that said, have a good night. And for those coming on after the fact, feel free to hit the notification button. Feel free to subscribe if you want. No one's twisting your arm. Just figured if you might want to be notified the next time I'm on. And now I got quite a few videos underneath my belt for over a decade worth of teaching and preaching and some series and stuff like that I put forth. You might want to check out things like necromancy, witchcraft, and Satanism. For an example, different religions, not just legal rights that you can do from religious perspectives to personalized perspectives, constitutional rights and stuff like that. But anyways, like I said, I'm out. Have a good night, and until next time.